Okay.
Peter? Okay. And John, away you go.
All right. Never saw this many Hawks in one room in my life. And I'm sure if everybody's the same as me, I've been looking forward to this since Bob and the gang decided to do it. And this is a pretty special day for every one of us. So great to see everyone. Some of you haven't seen since high school. Oh, just a minute.
Rookie.
Great. So, first thing I want to do is I want to thank the organizing committee. You guys probably all know who they are. Jim Salter, Bob Sweet, Peter Yaten, and Jack Hatcher. Woohoo! I graciously offered to maybe MC or somehow I could help, and they decided that they would take me up on my offer. So, that's 4 gentlemen. I make 5. And Casey, I made the starting 5. Only took me 50 years. Not bad. You always told me work hard, be tenacious, practice, practice, practice. You too can be on the starting 5. I want to welcome everybody here. We have 2 distinguished guests with us today. We have Abraham Zabian, the mayor of West Hampton Municipality, and Mr. John Laura, the Minister of Finance for Nova Scotia. I only found this out the other day, but John played for Canning after the 2 miraculous championships we won. And so we can't rub him for being there the day we beat Canning in the final. But it's an honor to have both those gentlemen here. John has to get away early, so I'm going to have him come up first. But first, Bob gave me this, and I thought this would be interesting. I'll go through it quickly. This is from 1975. So these were the top 10 songs. I won't go through all of them, but these are the top things that happened in 75. So some of the top 10 songs: Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Tennille. Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell, an all-time favorite.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Freedom by Elton John. Before the Next Teardrop Falls by Freddie Fender. I'll go to the last one. One of These Nights by the Eagles. Top bands from 75. Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, the Eagles, Queen, Elton John, Fleetwood Mac, Bruce Springsteen, and Aerosmith.
All the good ones.
Walk this way. Yeah. The highest grossing movies. Jaws, Rocky Horror, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Dog Day Afternoon, Shampoo, Return of the Pink Panther, 3 Days of the Condor, Funny Lady, Aloha Bobby and Rose, nice 68 Camaro on that if anybody remembers. Top shows on TV, All in the Family, Rich Man, Poor Man, Laverne and Shirley, Maude, The Bionic Woman, Phyllis, Sanford and Son, Rhoda, $6 Million Man, or Peter Yaten, and Happy Days. Had to do it.
That's all good.
These are people born in 75. Drew Barrymore, Angelina Jolie, Bradley Cooper, I don't even know some of these, Ava Longoria, David Beckham, 50 Cent, Tiger Woods, born in 75, and Michael Bublé. Some of the historical events that happened in 75. The end of the Vietnam War. Gerald Ford was president. Elliott Trudeau was prime minister. No? Okay. First digital camera was invented. Bill Gates invented the first personal computer. Founding of Microsoft. The debut of Saturday Night Live. Sports winners of 75. Who can get these? Golden State Warriors won the NBA final. The big Cincinnati Reds defeated Boston Red Sox in the World Series.
Yay. Philadelphia Flyers.
Philadelphia Flyers won the Stanley Cup. You're right. Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl. And the Hantsport Hawks won the Nova Scotia PBA Team Brookfield, 51-46, up in Brookfield. That was a hostile getaway that day. Snowballs at the bus. Anyhow, I'm not gonna speak too much, I'm just the MC. There's some really good people gonna say some really good things here today, so. I'd like to call upon John Lohr, and then we're gonna hear from Abraham Zabian. Bob's gonna speak, Peter's gonna speak, Randy's gonna speak, and then we're gonna have an open mic, and maybe we want to come up and share some stories. So, without further ado, folks, John Lohr.
Thank you.
I forget my beer.
Thank you, John. Look, it's a pleasure to be here, and we were rivals, I can tell you that. The Cornwallis Clippers, who I played for, the standard was to beat the Hantsport Hawks, that's for sure. I can remember the first time I came to play in Hantsport in grade 10, and the shock at seeing the gymnasium, and you guys had a press on us and just whooped us. And but we none of you will remember this, but in 1979-80, we beat you every game. And I remember Casey said, we'll beat you once. You said that to us, Casey, but you didn't that year. You were always, I admired Hantsport. I'll tell you why I admired you was it was such a small school, and you did so much in basketball, and you got every bit of, Casey got every ounce of talent that you all had, he got out of you. There's no doubt about that. It was always, in my opinion, I said this to Casey a few minutes ago, I'm going to talk about you, because to me this was always about coaching, and what a great coach you had here, and how well you all responded for such a small school to do so much, to win those B provincial championships when you were C school was really remarkable. I went on and played at NSAC with Dean as a teammate. I played against him. I can remember. I think I got to get out of the room before somebody elbows me, because you guys were never a dirty team. But I always admired what you did, and how much you did, and how much you got out of this. Out of the basketball, and none of you were there, I don't think, but in 1980 we won our second provincial championship right here in Hantsport. And it was us against, we were, our arch rival that year was Stellarton. And I think you beat them the year before, and won the championship in 70, if I get my years right, 78, 79. You beat Dwayne Rutledge and Steve Wilsack, and
Yes.
and we beat them here in 80, and so we'll both celebrate that. No worries about Stellarton.
We were actually cheering for you guys.
Were you?
Booing them because we hated Stellarton so much.
Yeah.
I was on the All-Star
We were the
committee.
sixth man.
I was on the All-Star committee, and we gave you MVP.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Peter, yeah. So, no, thank you.
You'll take the
And,
$50 an hour.
Yeah, so I drank Keith's, right?
we were all young at one time. We all had a lot of fun. So here's all that, and well done on this reunion. And sorry I'm not staying longer, but I am dressed up because I am speaking at Pat Dunn's retirement event tonight in Pictou County. The MLA was he didn't run in 24, so he retired. So I'm speaking there tonight. I have a 15-minute speech there. So anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and well done. And you guys got a lot to be proud of. And I'd say I'd give Casey the credit. If you don't mind me saying that. Yeah, thanks for that.
Appreciate it.
Gee, I'm not 6'4". There.
That's 2 inches.
How's that? Yeah.
You missed it by 2 inches. He's 6'6".
Funny, when I was in grade 10 playing senior the first year, I was 6'1" on the program. There wasn't one guy on the team under 6 foot except for Johnny Harvey. He was 5'11". Yeah. Anyways, thank you very much, John. We appreciate your presence here today. Next, I'd like to call up Abraham Zabian, the mayor for West Hantsport Municipality, and we'll hear some kind words from Abraham, I'm sure.
I'll bring it down a little bit further as well. I'll just let it hang there. Thanks, guys, for having me here. It's a great honor being amongst some Hantsport greats, and I think we can say you guys are Hantsport greats. So, round of applause for all of you guys. I like to think my birth was inspired by your 79 year. So, you know, I came along when your last championship came along, and it was a great year. So, but the 50th anniversary, absolutely. Casey, I'm a big coach believer as well, and it takes a great coach to bring out the best in the talented team.
Absolutely.
And my experiences with you through the Hantsport system as well, you got every ounce out of every player, and it could be the skinniest, scrawniest little guy such as myself, or the biggest, most powerful guy in the team. Casey definitely knew how to get the best out of everybody and make you feel part of the team. So for that, we owe you an immense deal of gratitude, and we'll never forget that bit as well. So you are a legend. You are great. You are an epitome of everything inspiration that somebody could ever actually think about. So a big round of applause for Casey. When Bob called me up, it was a no-brainer. I have to be here because just listening to the stories on the sideline, it's amazing. You guys are the best. I wish you all the best. 50 years. Let's see. Hopefully we make to another 50. Keep the streak alive. And
Can only hope so.
It's a pleasure. Honestly, guys, it's a pleasure. Please enjoy it. Take it all in. I have a little certificate here. I'll add to the pile of great goodies and put it as part of the history as well. Thank you. Congratulations. It's a great deal. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Careful.
Oh, I forgot the cameras.
Good job.
I'm like the only guy here not wearing glasses, that's good. I do have a pair, I do have. All right, guys, like I said, this is great. We can't bestow enough accolades on Casey. You know, I always say, Casey, that if you're a coach and they still call you by your first name, you haven't reached that level yet. But when your first name becomes coach, then you're a coach, right? And coach, you are a coach. And every guy in this room knows how good you are. We don't have to sit up here, or we don't have to talk about you, because we know how you touched each and every one of us in this room. Whether the Pine Rider or Jack Hatcher, or it didn't matter. You brought out the best in all of us. You did, really did. And,
John, you're gonna make me cry.
and maybe, and we had fun doing it for the most part. Anyhow, I'll say a few words later. Next, I want Bob Sweet to come up. Bob's got some very good words to speak to us about Casey, about the basketball program in Hantsport. And I'll turn it over to Bob.
All right, thank you. We'll get that together. First of all, I'd like to thank John Moore, Abe's Indians, for showing up there today, making this special occasion that much more special. And all the invited guests here, welcome all. We're here celebrating our 50th anniversary of the 74-75 provincial winning basketball team. We also have invited the winning provincial teams from the 75-76 and the 78-79 teams here today. We want to recognize and celebrate the fact that Hantsport won 3 provincial championships in a 5-year span, which is something that's worth recognizing.
Woo! Yeah!
And we also like to recognize the teams and players that came before us and after us who contributed to basketball in Hantsport. Not everybody won the provincials, but everybody contributed to the basketball team. It was Coach Casey's wish that all his players made it here today so we could celebrate together. And I think most of us showed up, which is a good thing. Okay, Coach Casey started coaching in Hantsport in 1968. And he retired from coaching in 2010. And in the second year, he started a bitty basketball program with the senior boys team at the time. That was included grades 5 and 6. And it was the beginning of preparing the team for later success, believe it or not. It went back that far. And to look back, the teams were very successful that were started in the mini basketball program. And the other thing that comes to mind is that the coach required all his players to wear suit jackets and ties to all of our away games. People didn't take it to it very at first, but we owned it, and we decided that we were going to buy into that. Everybody had to wear a suit and tie. And come to find out, by doing that, we represented ourselves, the school, and the town of Hantsport much better, which is a good thing. Now, due to the small student size of our school, Hantsport should have been a C school. However, Coach had a team meeting and wanted to know what division we wanted to play in. We had a meeting in the locker room one day. And the team voted, and we voted to go B because we didn't want to play down, we wanted to play up. We wanted to play against the better teams. Because we thought we had the coach and the players to do it. So, having said that, Hantsport, we played a lot against quite a few of the A division teams, like Horton, Windsor, even St. Pat's we played against. These were challenging games, but helped us develop into better players. Now, don't forget, Hantsport only went to grade 12. Grade 11. If you wanted, and if you wanted to grade 12, you had to go to Windsor. So that limited our school population for the pool for players right there. So we were in grades 10, 11, some less than that, grades 8 and 9 were playing senior basketball. And we were playing against kids in grade 12, much bigger, much stronger, older, and keeping up with them. So to reinforce the fact, the student population in 74, 75, the student population in grade 9, 10, and 11 was 80 students total. In 75, 76, the student population was 95 kids. In 78, 79, the total population of the students in grades 9, 10, 11 was 84. Like I said, the other schools had grade 12, and most of the schools we played against had a much higher student population, which put us behind the gate ball until they played us.
That's right.
So going into 74, 75, we had high expectations for the team. And I found this write-up, it's from the yearbook from 1973, 74, and there's no name attached to it, but it's a write-up about the senior basketball team that year. And I thought it'd be appropriate to mention what I found in the yearbook that day about our high expectations for that 74, 75 team. And it reads, the senior boys had a very productive year. And next year, hopefully we'll reach our peak. I think it's our peak. We won the provincials that year. We walked away with a consolation plaque at the New Year's Classic, and we missed the provincial consolation plaque by 5 points in overtime in 1973-74. So that was an indication of what was going to happen. Now, we weren't the tallest team, and perhaps we weren't the best individually skilled players on our team, but to win, we had to learn to play as a team. And that was our strong point. One player is not going to beat five players on the team. So that's where we gained our strength. And Coach had a plan and dedication for us to be the best prepared team. And I personally like to thank Coach for his dedication and countless hours spent in the gym that developed us into a better team and better players. He taught us fundamental skills that carried us on through life. I personally learned that hard work and practice pays off in the end, and a proper strategy will set you up for success in the future. Coach held practice 3 times a week in the school, and I remember one practice, and maybe you guys might forget this one or not, but it was called War. Remember that practice?
God help you if you get in with
God help you, you didn't even Jerry Allen.
Where's Jerry?
Where's Jerry?
All right. They called it War, but I called it Murder Ball. Now, the reason why that is, it was a practice for the players to stay inside the key. We weren't allowed to go outside the key. And no fouls were called. So you could, that's the reason why I call it murder, because you get away with murder. You could clobber somebody and they wouldn't call a foul.
That's why Jerry loved it.
And this prepared us to focus on shooting the basketball when we were being fouled. It actually worked. Often our scrimmages were more intense than playing some games, because when we practiced, we went at each other. We didn't hold back. We played hard, even in practice. So it wasn't that much of a stretch to go from practice into a game. Since the Hantsport kids didn't have to be bused to school, that meant we could stay after school to practice and walk home after practice and home for supper. This is the beautiful thing about living in a small town. Now this is pertains to basically the core players from the 74-75 team. Some juniors played games with the senior team. Often the juniors and senior teams had back-to-back games. And some of the junior players would play both games, changing uniforms between the games and playing both junior and senior. On behalf of the championship team, I would like to acknowledge the players that are no longer with us. That being Dave Salter and George Garland. All strong basketball players, but they're not here, so I'd like you all to take a minute and think about them in your thoughts. Okay, and the Hantsport. The team often drew large crowds in the small gym, filling with spectators. I would like to thank our family members and friends and their support for those who took their time to drive us to away games. We didn't have a bus, we didn't have a budget. We had people driving us all over the countryside, and we thank you all. Thank you to all of you coming today to celebrate with us. This is the first time in 50 years that we've all been together in the same room. So that in itself is a bit of a feat. What else? I know that some of you guys have traveled a long distance to be here to join in our celebration and join our achievements, that we catch up with our teammates and enjoy our time. Now, I didn't write this in the speech, but I added it by pen. Just for your information, in January, I sent an application in to the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame for the 74-75, 75-76, and the 78-79 teams to be recognized for the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame. So I'm still waiting to hear back. Their process is now ongoing now, and hopefully we'll hear a positive result from that.
Yeah, yes. Thanks, Bob.
Has any other team gone back to back
Not that I'm aware
in B? Did anybody ever do that?
of. Not that
So
I'm
that's
aware.
what the Hall of Fame should be. They should really have a long look at that, because I think we accomplished something that maybe no other B team had ever done, the back-to-backs.
That's,
You're right.
I think, I'm not sure, I looked it up a little bit before I came down here, but I don't know.
there is a way to get that information off the
We
old.
were the first team to win back-to-back. Now, they might have done it after that, but up to that point.
We were the first.
Team to
There you go, guys, we're number one.
Yeah, and I think maybe, Coach, I think there wasn't anybody after that, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot. Coach.
We'd be the only C team to go back-to-back in B.
No, but we could have gone D if they had.
Okay.
But we didn't. So.
And continuing on.
It's interesting.
Okay. I've been in touch with Lori Lancaster. She's the head of president of knows you, Scott. I've been in touch with her, and I will be submitting this fall an application for the Basketball Nova Scotia. They have a Frank Baldwin Award, Mr. Nova Scotia Basketball Nova Scotia.
Taught us how to do jump shots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He made our school and taught
he
us
came
jump
to the
shots.
gym in Bridgewater and talked to us in the locker room, and I think he even came to Hantsport in our gym one
Taught
time.
us how to play jump shot, take jump shots. Yeah.
So he's Mr. Basketball Nova Scotia, so they have a award recognizing the community. And at that time, I'll be recommending Casey Vandertoorn to be a recipient of the Frank Baldwin Award.
Very nice.
Thus ending my speech career.
Good job, Bobby. Trouble to go in second, like a lot has been said. Last summer I was down to the Hantsport Music Festival, and we were sitting with Bob Sweet and Darlene and Jimmy and Charmaine, and we were sipping tea. And we get
Reading the Bible.
reading the Bible, and we began to, and Bob said, you know, it's going to be 50 years since we won the provincials. And I said, yeah. that's right. And he said, we should do something. And I'm telling you, Bob and Darlene just grabbed a hold of this and they took it. And I want to give them a little hand today for what they've done. So I know it's an old story, but I just want to give a little timeline of how this all happened. So this is the 50th anniversary of Hantsport Hawks winning our provincials down in Brookfield. And Bob talked about it. The team really began with that bitty basketball program, which was kind of legendary or evolutionary to begin with. We didn't play basketball like that back in grade 5 and 6, and all of a sudden we had these teams. I remember I was on a team with Dave Salter and we were too strong and you traded me. I was devastated. Anyway, those games went on Saturday mornings, and the coaches were the senior boys at that time. And guys like Cam Porter, Judd Porter, Gary Johnson, Kevin Frazier, Richard Duke, Lloyd, you're probably part of that they came in on Saturday mornings and orchestrated us, and that's really where we got our love for basketball and got going. I said I always remember buying my first pair of basketball shoes so I could play bitty basketball. So I went and I got these knockoff imitation Adidas from the Stedman store in Hantsport. And you know, I lived way up there on Rain Street, right? So one Saturday morning, cold as hell, I walked down there and my shoes froze in the bag. So I put them on my feet, took one step, and they both broke open.
That's cold.
$3.50, shot in the hell.
Oh, you got the good sneakers.
Yeah. So we actually did have a grade 17. Right behind you, Rick, I brought that picture in, and it's a pretty cool picture, 1972. Just hand it to me. And on that team is Jack Hatcher, Greg Irving, Coach Casey Vandertoorn, Jerry Allen, Fred Salter, John Harvey, George Garland, Peter Yaden, Dave Salter, Larry Lacuter, and Jerry Ritchie. Remember Jerry?
Yeah.
So we did actually have that junior team for 1 year. But the next year was when we really got going for our senior experience. The team was kind of in a transition period. A lot of the guys had graduated. So we came in there in the 1972-73 season, and we actually made it to the provincials because we used to have to play Hants North, Hants West, and all that stuff. And they were taller and bigger, but we usually beat them for some reason. But we got to that provincial tournament, and that reality set in. I mean, we were grade 8. 3 of us, starting 5, were grade 8, playing against grade 12. Remember Randy Rector, played for Oxford? We played against him, right? You know, I mean, it looked like a father and son game up there. We were right there, and we took our lumps. I mean, and I know Bob mentioned Frank Baldwin, and it's a true story. He came in that dressing room after our last game, and we were sitting there shell-shocked and a little bit like, what the hell just happened? And he said, I think you guys are going to win this in a couple of years, or 2 or 3 years, and he was right. So the next year, the majority of us in grade 9, we went to the provincials in Isle Dam in Cape Breton. Remember that?
Been there, done that.
We stayed at a hotel right beside the school, went up there, and we actually made it to the consolation final and lost. But the next year, 1975, we stayed in Truro and played in Brookfield. And I can remember coming up out of that, we were underneath or down at a level. We came up out of that dressing room and walked into that gym, and we played the host team, Brookfield, and that place was packed. And there was 2 busloads of Hantsport fans there. And it was quite a feeling to come out in there. So we played the whole team, loaded with grade 11s and 12s, and we were all grade 10 or under. We didn't have any grade 11s on that team. And spoiler alert, we beat them. And at this time, I would kind of like to acknowledge all the people that were on that team. So just give a wave or something. Coach Vandertoorn, you guys might know him. Bob Sweet, Jack Hatcher, Bob Bosworth is not here. Jim Salter, way back there. Steve Turner, Jerry Allen, Snake, The only guy that can smoke in the shower. Okay? And I know there's different times 50 years ago, but he could smoke in the shower. Johnny Harvey, Larry Lacuter, Rick Thomas, John McKelly, and myself, Peter Yaden. And I know Bob touched on this, but I left out one name on purpose. Every person who was on that team knew the undisputed leader of that team was the guy that very seldom showed up on the score sheets as the leading scorer. He was our point guard, a relentless defender, and the smartest basketball player I ever played with. He could change a game just with his decision making, and that of course is Dave Salter. Give me. We lost Dave way too soon, and I sure wish he was here tonight. This provincial win was a major accomplishment for Coach Vandertoorn, ourselves, Hantsport Basket School, and the town of Hantsport. The next year, 1976, most of us were in grade 11. We hosted the B-Boys Provincials and defended champs. And what an amazing weekend that was in Hantsport. We ended up playing our neighbor and arch rival, Cornwallis High, from Canyon in the championship game, coached by John Townsend, which was a good friend of Coach Vandertoorn. The Hantsport gym was packed because we played a local team, and another spoiler, we won again. And I'd like to acknowledge that team too. So you might notice some names that are common. Coach Vandertoorn, and assistant coach, Lloyd Anderson. Manager, Kevin Guptill.
The best place for me.
Bob Sweet, Jack Hatcher, Jim Salter, Johnny Harvey, Rick Thomas, John Kelly, and Bob Tracy. Bob just came in as we're speaking. Give Bob a wave down there. Bob was a great basketball player. Had a lot of fun playing with him when we used to play intermediate balls after high school. And again, I don't want to go to that sad part, but George Garland. George Garland was a part of that team, and again, gone too soon. You might, and we were talking about this when we were setting up, but yes, or no, I guess this is when John came to our house. You might remember that championship game when we played Cornwallis. We couldn't put them away. We kept getting up 8, and then up 6, and up 4, up 8, and then Dave Salter stole the ball twice, right in front of Casey Vandertoorn's door, and went down for wide open layups and put the game away. That's just the type of player he was. The crowd was crazy, and Dave put together a lot of this memorabilia, like that thing right there. Dave made that, and I have one of them at home, and it's pretty precious. So winning back-to-back championships against schools that had grade 12 players was a major accomplishment. I'm not sure, as I said, we just talked about it. I'm not sure it's been done. I don't know. You know, for years, Hantsport's been known as a baseball community, baseball teams. But when Coach Vandertoorn came here in 1968, he created a basketball environment and a tradition that is going strong today. Not bad for a guy that was a rink rat. Came in here from Lunenburg, 1968 Cougar. Was it 1968? The green car you had when you come in here? With hockey gear in the back. You know, teams coached by him were always competitive, and opposing teams always knew what they're up against when they played Hantsport. If you look at our team that won the back-to-back provincials, we're always younger, smaller than the team that we played against. We played a lot of A teams and either beat them or more than held our own, especially Windsor. Windsor had Teddy Upshaw and those guys. We played those guys, took them into double overtime in Hantsport Gym. This is because we were so well coached and we loved the game of basketball. We weren't in the gym, we were in John Harvey's father's barn, Old John's barn. Beating and pounding on each other, trying to score on this old rim mounted on the barn loft. Do you remember that, John?
Yeah.
We did that for hour after hour.
2-shot foul if you get knocked into the manure pile.
I gotta take a little jab. To be able to coach, I mean, we were structured, but God love him. Jack Hatcher was a great basketball player and scored a lot of points. But any coach that can teach him an actual play deserves a lot of credit. Jack's idea of an offense was to either steal the ball, get a rebound, go 100 miles an hour the other way, score, and meet us on the way back. But I'm not jabbing at him, he was a great player. After school, we had several intermediate teams, and we actually won a couple of provincials in intermediate. And if possible, we always asked Coach Vandertoorn to coach us. It just seemed right when he was on the bench. Coach Vandertoorn's coaching became generational. He coached both my sons, and Gary Johnson's here somewhere, I think. He coached both your sons and granddaughter.
One of mine too.
One of the, yes. And I'll tell you, the school went back to grade 9, but he had some amazing junior boys teams and junior girls. Did you teach you? But anyway, the tradition of that strong basketball just kept going on. Also, there's a definite culture of players who played for him that continue to pay it forward by coaching or be involved in one way or another during the years in many different levels. There are several in this room today that are coaching or have coached, and I think it's because of their love of basketball that was started by Coach Vandertoorn. I refereed basketball for 25 years plus, went to the dark side. And it was so satisfying to see how Hantsport basketball continues with involvement and coaching from former students that were not so long ago players themselves. Hantsport definitely has a rich basketball tradition. It's funny, I coached the Hantsport junior boys the last couple of years because I have 2 grandsons on the team, or one this year. The school goes to grade 8 now. Here we are 50 years later. And the team this year I had 7 grade 6s, meaning we were always smaller and younger than our competition. Does that sound familiar? When you get to be my age, we are now, how lucky we are to be able to have an event like this and look back on such a great time in both our own experience and the Hantsport School's history. When you look around this room, you'll see some cheerleaders that became our wives. I think they thought we were going to be NBA players and have lots of money. Sorry. So thank you to everyone who made the effort to be here today. I know some of you guys came from afar, and I hope you enjoy the evening. So at this time, I think Randy Carey's going to come up and say a few words about the 1978-79 team. I remember going and watching this. Leslie and Johnny and me and Edie went down, and we stayed at the old Heather Motel down in Stellarton, and we watched those guys win, and they had a great team. Not sure it was as great as ours, but who knows. But boy, they had a good team. And so it was fun to watch. So thank you, guys.
I'll think about one piece of paper because I knew a lot of stuff would be covered before I got here, but it's all good. Boober, Snack, all you guys, Skew, wearing your dad on the back, all my teammates. Wow, this is something special, really. Thank you, Bob, Darlene, everybody for putting this on. Before you go, Coach, I want a picture with our team too, if we can get a coach with our team in front of everything. I want to give a shout out to my sister, Brenda. I know she's here today. love you, miss you, because she's carried on a lot of our basketball tradition. As I sit here and reflect on the memories of Hantsport High, they bring back memories of school in the 70s. Basketball was first, and girlfriends were a distant second. We lived, breathed, and ate basketball. As if 5 practices a week through junior and senior ball weren't enough, we'd play at recess, noon, and go to tournaments on the weekends. One man brought the love of this sport to us, my brother-in-law, I'm very proud to say, Casey Vandertoorn, or as we all know him as Coach. Although we were only in junior, Coach would bring us up to practice and sometimes play with the senior teams. What great foresight to have for myself and the rest of our teammates. For me, it was mentors like George Grown, John Wilp, as he was known as Harvey, and Dave Salter, how I would look up to them. We'd never miss a senior game, keeping score on the stage with the old scoreboard, or working at the timer's bench with the old buzzer time clock. I think it's in a museum somewhere now. The gym would be packed, standing room only. Now in later years, when I meet up with other coaches or other teams' players, they often make a point of how they hated coming into our town and in our gym and playing in the Hawks dungeon, they used to call it. I met a guy from Hants North at the New Year's dance in the Old Orchard Inn this year, and he asked me where I was from. I told him I was from Hantsport. He made a remark about how he hated coming to our gym, how fancy our warm-up uniforms were, and the music, and their team was defeated before they threw the ball to start the game. I'll keep it short here, so I could go on forever. But in closing, I just want to say that winning an NSSAF provincial basketball championship is and always will be one and my teammates one of our best memories of our lives. And how we are all blessed to be part of such a successful basketball dynasty. Thank you, players. Thank you, Coach Casey.
Well, hard to follow all that. Everything has been said. At this point, if anybody wants to come up and relate a story, feel free. I have 2 I want to bring up. I talked to Casey today about it. I said, I think it was 75, 76, to alleviate parents from driving us everywhere. We raised money picking apples, selling season tickets to our game. Wow, that's 50. You know. Anyway, we bought an old Econoline van, and Joey Patterson made it roadworthy, kind of. And Casey drove us, and it had aluminum chairs in the back from the gym. And you couldn't sleep coming home from games in case you died of carbon monoxide poisoning. And one particular night we were coming back from a home day after thrashing them, and the snow, rain, miserable, and the driver's side wiper went. So Casey got out, skewed the other one over like this, and then drove home the rest of the way like this. You'd go to jail today for doing that. One other thing I'd like to say is, Peter mentioned, I played basketball after high school for 20 years in the Air Force and won 3 championships, and I coached the last 5 years, and I coached junior high and Eastern Passage, and all of what I accomplished with that wouldn't have happened without Casey. And I was going to make a little joke, and I'm going to say it anyways. When I joined the Air Force, went to boot camp, of course in the military they train you to be teamwork. Teamwork's what it's all about. And I told one of the instructors the first week that I didn't need to worry about learning teamwork because I already had the course. Thank you, Coach. Open mic, guys. Come up and say a few words if you like.
All right, kids, here it is. I've been around a long time. I've done a lot of different things. And when things start to go a little bit south, people knew they were in trouble when I started out with, you know, I'm just from a little small town called Hantsport. 800 people, and we worked hard. And anyone who wanted to step up and say they were gonna work harder, good thing I wasn't carrying a cane back then, because I'd smack them. Casey Vandertoorn let me play 1 year. Sorry, coach. I really am. Yeah, shit happens. But I managed the team 75 and 76. And it taught me a lot of stuff. Well, one was sleeping with Squirrel there in Bridgewater one time. And I think there's other people that were here that night. But what I want to say is I had one of my sons was a pretty damn good basketball player. He was playing at Windsor Regional, and he could play ball, but he sucked as a student. And because I sucked as a student, I didn't want that. So I would make him miss games if he didn't do well in school. And the coach at the time, who was also a Hantsport boy, who played on the Hawks, he couldn't get that. So we had words. And I said, to hell with you, he's not playing here anymore. So I went down to see Casey because it was right at that transitional period where Hantsport was gonna be a high school anymore, but he had this really cool team that was playing fairly high end ball. And he had 10 kids already on it. And I went in and I said, Case, he is actually a pretty damn good ball player. Will you give him a chance? And he said, absolutely. He starts as the 11th man. And within 3-4 weeks, he was on starting 5. And every time that he went out there to start, all I could think of was, he's getting what I got. He was taught the teamwork. He was taught to work so hard. He was taught little towns matter. Because as they said, I can remember actually not the same game that you remember, but going up and playing Windsor Regional the year that I played. And Teddy was still there, and I think they beat us like 147-12 or some damn thing like that. It was very discouraging. But Casey set us down afterwards and said, did you learn anything? And he wasn't pissed. He was pissed the day I came down and threw one up from just over center. And I looked over as it went in there, and he was going. So, no, I really shouldn't have been playing basketball. But Case, thank you so much. I told you when you come in, a lot of us are where we are today because of you. Thank you.
I think that's a sign, that's enough.
Yeah. All right, if nobody else wants to come up and speak, does anybody want to come up and speak?
They're just trying to get one photo. I don't
Trying
want
to get a photo
anybody
of
to
our
miss.
Sure.